Hey, Jeff, thank you so much for taking out the time to share your experience of what it was like working with us here at the Abundant Accountant. For other firm owners who might also be considering working with us, but might not know if now's the right time or if it's a good fit, et cetera. So I think really hearing from you will be helpful to other firm owners that might be considering working with us. But before we start, I'd love it if you could share what kind of firm you have and also where you're at in the country.
Yep. So we're located in Chicago, Illinois, and we are a CFO advisory services firm.
Awesome. And in your CFO advisory firm, what was the biggest challenge that you were having as it related to your sales or sales process, or the area that you thought was the challenge before we met, which had you, reach out and have a call with us and take those next steps? What were you most struggling with in your firm at the time?
Well, we didn't have a process, so I was just looking for a process, knowing that I had a gap there, and that solving that gap early would probably pay off later.
Yeah. And how did you know you even had a gap? I think there's many firm owners, Jeff, that don't even know they have a gap around their sales process. What were those things for you that made you realize you had the gap?
So just that when I thought about what is my sales process or how do I sell, I couldn't answer the question. And that told me that I didn't have anything and that I needed
Yeah.
something.
Okay. And did you notice that because you didn't have a sales process and didn't have anything, did you have like missed revenue? Were you meeting with prospects and didn't know what to say and weren't closing your prospects and the clients that you really wanted to get?
Yeah,
What
that's a
were
good
you?
point. It was definitely around making sure that I closed correctly. My biggest concern was closing. And then through the course, I learned that I had a problem in prospecting as well and how I approached the whole sales
Right.
conversation.
How many people did you meet with before you enrolled with us, but didn't close them? Like prospects that you were meeting with in your own business and your firm for CFO advisory services, but they weren't converting into paying clients.
So we were young. We're only a year old, so I'd only had
Hmm.
three or four conversations that had gone that route.
Right.
Since then, I haven't had an issue, to be honest with you.
Yeah, but those 3 to 4 were kind of like your indicator, like you didn't know what you were doing, I guess. Right.
Yeah, I would say so. Like you could tell that they were looking for more on the call and that I didn't have it and that they weren't going to tell me what was missing, right? Like it was just
Mm-hmm.
clear that something was missing.
Yep. That makes sense. So what was the moment you decided to do something about it? Where you're like, I can't have more sales calls the way you were doing it. You realized that the prospects wanted more, but you didn't even know what more. You weren't closing those clients, so you missed out on 3 to 4 opportunities. What was that moment that you decided to do something about it and saying, okay, I'm a young company. I know I got to change this. I can't keep going this way. What was like that turning point for you or the story that maybe you can share or you
Yeah.
were thinking about it?
We had to make a big decision on committing to our marketing budget. We're building out a good website, and I wanted to make sure that if I was going to spend that money, that the prospects I did meet with, I could close.
Yeah. You want to have an ROI on your marketing.
That's right.
That's
That's
good.
exactly
I
right.
think a lot of people want just say, and you're new, so maybe you can speak to this. Most new firm owners think that they just need leads. I need more leads. I need to do lead gen. When in reality, I think you actually need sales process first before you do any investing on the marketing side. What did you learn from having your firm just for under a year on the difference between sales and marketing and why you chose to invest on the sales process and getting your pricing right and your conversions and how to communicate and things when you're prospecting versus spend that money on leads first.
Sure. I was lucky in that I have a person in my network who is big in marketing, and he basically just validated for me that the website or the marketing budget in this line of business was really just like a digital business card, right? Like if someone was going to
Yep.
go to the website, they were going
Yep.
there for validation, and that most of my pipeline was going to be filled by referral.
Yep.
So I wanted to make sure that I had the right material so that I could be validated.
Mm,
And then once I was validated, that I could close. And I was missing the close piece because referrals were coming in and I wasn't closing.
right. So isn't that funny, right? We get referrals, we think, oh, those are going to be slam dunks, but then they weren't closing.
Yep.
Um, And I think what you missed three or four of those. And that was enough for you to say, okay, I got to make a change.
Yep.
So, Jeff, I'd love it if you could share, how do you feel now going in through the 8 week sales mastery course versus how you felt before when meeting with clients and prospects to have a sales conversation? How do you feel now versus how did you feel before?
So I feel very confident that I can properly identify what they need from me and
Hmm.
how I should price it. You know, not every client is going to close. That's okay. But I think also feeling very good about the fact that if they don't close, it's not because we didn't properly identify their problem or that we didn't properly present a solution to them. It's more about were they ready to buy or were they the right client for us?
Hmm. I love that, right? We're not taking on everybody and anyone that comes your way anymore.
That's right.
Um, Was there ever a time when you thought in the beginning, like, would this work for you? I think a lot of people, enroll and you have that fear and anxiety in the beginning, maybe even during the 8 week sales mastery course, but maybe in those beginning weeks. Was there any concern when you were evaluating our coaching program or wondering, would this work for you or not?
Yes, there were some concerns. The first one was just the investment that needed to be made. My
Yep.
initial concern was like, okay, this is probably double what I want to spend on marketing. Does that make sense? And I called a professional salesperson friend of mine, and the logic he used was like, listen, like if this saves you even one client, it paid for itself. And that made it pretty easy for me, on top of the fact that your
Yeah.
process was used on me during the process of selling it to me, and it worked really well. Like I felt the emotional tug on my heart. Denise properly identified like what I want for the firm, and
Yeah.
what kind of got me over the hill.
Well,
Um,
and those three or four clients you didn't close in the beginning, how much revenue did you miss out on?
yeah, it's probably between 12 to $15,000 a month, and
Yeah,
it's
I mean, and that over a year, that's 120 grand
yep,
that if you had invested in this earlier, we met earlier, it would have paid off. But okay, go ahead. Your first concern was the investment and those people shared with you that perspective, which I think is genius. I just want to also take it one next level because you also shared that in the beginning, and other firm owners might be struggling with the same thing, right, Jeff? Where we miss a few clients, but now if you do the math, if you had the tools to convert and have a sales conversation and a process to close them, that could have been 120 grand of total revenue for the year for you,
yep, yep.
right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Second concern was probably as we got into the process and I kind of looked at the peer group. I think that for us, me specifically, I was like, okay, is this actually going to work for what we do, which is more consulting oriented and less bookkeeping and tax?
Yep.
I have found that conceptually and principally, it does work.
Oh,
Yeah, you're going to be
totally.
able to take some things and leave other things, but in general,
Yeah.
like, it works.
Yeah. It works for any advisory sale, right? So it
Yep.
could be CFO advisory, it can be accounting services, it can be monthly bookkeeping, it could be a tax plan engagement, it could just be business basic advisory to
Hmm.
clients, right? It's the same process that you can use on all those different elements. So I love that. What was
It
your
makes
other
me wonder if
concern?
you could do it with other, like, my bet is that you could probably apply it almost anywhere.
You can. We applied it on you.
That's right, exactly.
It's called relationship based selling, right? And
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
we have curated it and customized it to a firm owner like you. So if you have a CFO advisory firm, a bookkeeping firm, an accounting firm, if you focus on tax resolution or tax planning, it will fit all those molds because the language is very similar, right? But could you
Yeah.
use this in other industries? 100%. Yeah. Did you have any other concerns when you were, in those beginning weeks or just even before you made the investment in working with us?
No, just personally, I hate homework. So, the fact that I had to do homework was a concern and it's still always going to be a concern.
Yeah.
Other than that, I'm good.
And now looking back, how did the homework pay off for you in investing that 1 hour a day in the course for over 8 weeks?
That is a
How has that paid off for you? Because I think that's a main concern and a big one, Jeff, for a lot of other firm owners. But
yeah.
it's the thing that actually had you shift and create your process. And now you have your sales process finder. So, how do you feel about that homework now looking back?
Yeah, that is a really great point. I think that, as I got through the lessons,
Mm-hmm.
more than just my sales process crystallized for me. I think the
Mm-hmm.
type of firm that I want to be, the way that I want to
Mm-hmm.
service clients,
Yeah.
how I want to feel when I'm dealing with my clients, how I want my
Yeah.
clients to feel.
Yeah.
All of the homework helped with all of that, no doubt about it.
1000%. Yeah. And I hate doing homework too, Jeff. So I'm right there with you. But when you do this kind of homework, this is actually business work. This
Yeah,
is just taking pieces of your firm and elements that we should do as a firm owner, no matter if you're in the beginning stages like you are, or even someone 5 or 10 years in who needs a refresh, right?
that is how I felt about it once we started to get through it was,
Mm-hmm.
this is a recipe for me to think about
Correct.
how my firm sells and what we're selling.
Yes.
And it really helped crystallize things for me.
Yeah, I love that. Cool. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. Is there anything else, Jeff, that you would love to share with another firm owner that might have found us on Facebook or LinkedIn or referral, but they just have some initial skepticisms, just like you had before they take the plunge, or just anything else that you would love to share if you were to tell your younger self now something different? What would you share with your younger self if you could go back 2 or 3 months? Um, I know you have your network of people you could bounce ideas off, but what would you share with Jeff 3 months ago?
Okay, so candidly, as I was finding you on the website, I was like, all right, all these testimonials, like, is this real? Some
Yeah,
of it seemed a little bit hokey. And
yeah,
then um we
those
started
are
to
all real.
yeah, we started to rip through the process. Like I just took the leap based on the conversation with Denise, and it is
Uh-huh.
100% been worth it. Like my guess is that I've saved myself 5 to 6 years of hard lessons by just
Yes.
taking the leap early. And,
Yeah.
I recognize that like a lot of me specifically, like typically I like to learn the hard way. Um, but I think that I saved myself a lot of pain by doing this. And
Yeah.
that's what I would say.
I love that. And what would you say also to someone who goes to their website and sees all those testimonials and might think it's hokey pokey, or is this too good to be true?
They're
Now
real.
that you've been, yeah, they're real, but what would you share with yourself who might also be a little skeptic 2 or 3 months ago, going through the process, being on our group coaching calls each week, and also hearing from people on a weekly basis and maybe even seeing some of those people in class that were doing the testimonials? What would you share with your younger self about the website, the testimonials, and
Mm.
would this work for me? Like, is this really real? Because we do hear that a lot. Like, this just sounds too good to be true. I'm like, well, it is true.
Well, I think
But
what it is
coming
that
from another firm owner.
yeah. So what I realized very quickly is that all of the firm owners have the exact same problems, and that a
Yes.
lot of those problems are emotional and psychological problems, and not necessarily quality or ability to deliver problems. I think
Yeah.
you properly hit the nail on the head when you talk about the way an accounting brain thinks versus the way
Yeah.
a sales brain thinks.
Yeah.
And I have found that. Um, the reason you have so many of those testimonials and those are real is because once they go through the experience, you see in the peer groups that we're all kind of facing the same problem. And once you
Hmm.
see that we're all facing the same problem, it makes solving that problem a lot easier to digest. It's not as
Yeah.
scary.
Yeah, definitely. Love it. Thank you for sharing and that it's all real. Do you have any other words of wisdom, Jeff, before we sign off for other firm owners who might be brand new bookkeeping firm owners, accounting firm owners, CFO firm owners, just like you, who might be serious about taking their firm to that next level and getting it off the ground? Or maybe they're in a corporate job and they're like you, like never doing corporate again. What words of wisdom would you have for that firm owner today?
It's a loaded question because there's a lot of content. But the first thing I would say is It's probably the most important investment you'll make, whether it's with the abundant accountant or not. You have to find a sales process and you have to really iron it out for yourself. It'll reduce your stress. It'll make you feel more confident going into the sales calls. That's number one. Um, yeah, I think that that's the most important point. Number two is probably just bet on yourself.
Yeah.
I think a lot of us struggle with betting on ourselves. And, number three would be it's scary and it's always going to be scary. And
Yeah.
the quicker you reach acceptance on that, the easier it is to just kind of move forward with that fear.
Yep. Awesome. Thank you so much, Jeff, for taking out the time. I'm excited for what's in store for you because your conversions are going to be a lot higher. So good job with completing the course and everything that you've done and, sharing so honestly on our group coaching calls too. I think you've made a difference in other people's lives for sure.
Thank you.